What's up guys? Long time no see. I told you I'd be back once I got the new engine in and I got it running again. I forgot my memory card at home, so I'm gonna have to film this video on my iPhone. This video is gonna be like a car check or kind of just showing you what I all did, what I all changed in the last year since I've been gone off of YouTube. I think the first thing that we should take a look at is the engine bay and the new engine setup. So this is basically a full Brian Crower BC engine. It has Brian Crower 264 cams, it has Brian Crower dual springs, Brian Crower valves, it has a Cometic head gasket, it has a Brian Crower billet crank, which is fully counterbalanced. That really fixes the one major flaw with the KA, and it's that from factory it doesn't come fully counterbalanced, so you're kind of limited to 7,200 RPM. Some people spin them up higher. If you want to do that, that's kind of on you. I wouldn't recommend it. It's got manly rods and Wiseco pistons. It's kind of hard to see, but we got the Nice Time Racing Zeta turbo kit with the manifold, the downpipe, and then for the turbo we have a Garrett GTX3071r with a 1.0 housing, not even a G series. We have the coil on plug conversion. This was also made by Nice Time along with the bracket, and these are K series coil packs. A few things that I forgot to mention are that we actually loosened up the rings a little bit on this engine, so they are gapped a little bit wider, and the reason for that is detonation. I don't know the ratios off the top of my head, but the normal gap that you would gap your rings to, you will run into detonation issues even on E around like 430 according to Mike, my engine builder. With this thing making over 500 wheel, that was kind of a must. Another thing that this engine has is, this was actually my engine builder Mike's personal engine that he was building for his car, which I'll get to that in a minute, but this actually has Evo 10 4B11 head studs. The head is specially machined. The head gasket is modified for those thicker head studs, and the reason for that is you're kind of limited to about 460, 470 wheel on the normal ARP head studs. Now you can get like an upgraded made to order, like it's made of an upgraded material that prevents them from stretching as easily. And what Mike had a problem with was you melt a wastegate line and your car over boosts and you blow a head gasket. Something I forgot to mention was the reason why I chose such a big exhaust housing was because since I wanted to rev it up to 7,500 and I just really wanted to be safe with my power, I didn't want to be on the ragged edge with back pressure and whatever, because that's not good for the engine, and that's kind of what we were doing with that G25 hybrid back when I had the bottom mount. And I forgot to mention that it has a $1,500 intake and exhaust port job done by the person who has the Honda B Series world record. So, you know, this thing's like really flowing, and I just didn't want to play any games, just put the big housing on it. It is a little bit laggy for the street, but I think it's really good for drifting because I want it to be a little laggy. I don't want it to be like super punchy, because when you have more of a linear power band, it's more fun on the street, it's more dramatic, but also for drifting, if the power kind of like ramps in, it puts it down better. So, you know, if it's just hitting and you're just knocking the tire, you're going to be slower than someone who has a more linear power band where, you know, through that mid-range, like their wheel speed is closer to the ground speed, because that's what makes a drift car fast is, you know, as small of a difference between your wheel speed and your ground speed is what will make you fast. But then if you get too close, then, you know, you're going to straighten. So it's kind of all a game. So I chose this power band for a reason. I'm really happy with it. I don't know if I would want to go back down to the 0.86 housing. I believe the 0.64 is what comes on the turbo normally, and that one kind of started to choke out, or I wouldn't go more than like 420 with that housing. So I said that this was Mike's engine. My engine locked up, if you follow the channel, and we were going to build another engine, and the machine shop basically had me in machine shop jail for like a year. We were always under the assumption that it was going to be done, you know, relatively soon. They kept giving us that it's almost done, run around for like a year, and then it came to the end of the season, and then I was talking to Mike. I'm like, well, I have some extra money now. Kind of wanted to do the billet crank because on Assetto I started playing around with the final drive more, and we'll get to that in a sec. So I wanted to rev it higher, along with the improvement of the harmonics will make the engine last longer. It's just going to make everything better. Doing the Evo head studs was kind of a must. So I was talking to him, and then he was like, well, I'm kind of thinking about selling my motor that I'm having built, which I did know that he was building this motor, and he wants to get rid of all of his KAT stuff. He's been doing it for a really, really long time, and he wants to start doing some LS stuff. He wants to put an LS in his car. So we worked out a deal where the engine that we were already building, I gave him that, and then I gave him some money on top, and then I got this. So I just got to say a massive, massive thank you to Mike, owner of Tier 3, for building me such a good engine, putting up with all of my issues and all my problems. This engine has 2 drift events on it so far, not a single issue. I'm very happy with the whole drivetrain. It's been great to me so far. So again, massive, massive thank you to Mike from Tier 3. One thing that I still got to clean up is the rust on the water pump, but down there we have an ATI damper and a Greddy pan. So I get a lot of questions about this oil pan setup. It's an Xcessive upper pan that lets you run an SR20 lower. I don't think Xcessive makes it anymore. It's honestly not great quality. For the fuel system, we have ID 1300cc injectors. If you run 1000s on E85, you're probably gonna run out of fuel around low to mid 400s. I don't remember exactly what size my lines are because they're PTFE, so they're a lot smaller. I believe it's -8 feed, -6 return, and now I have the Radium fuel rail, as you can see, but it's also a full Radium all the way back. I have my flex fuel sensor down there, that's on the return, and then the fuel filter is on the feed, but then I have the Radium fuel line kit, so it goes all the way to the back, and then I have a Hellcat fuel pump, a single Hellcat fuel pump with the Radium hanger kit. For my fuel pressure regulator, I have this Radium one that's just on the fuel rail. Really simplifies it, then I don't need to put anything on the engine bay. For my catch can setup, I got this Radium fitting. We got a nice time plate down there that lets me run I believe that's a -8, so I got -8, -10. The catch can is Alaria. I believe they used to be called MA Motorsports. We got this cover back here, which is something that I got a really long time ago when Adam LZ was building his white R32 a long time ago. I don't know if he bought it or if it came with the car. I'm not gonna pull it off. I don't remember the name. I have a picture, I might put it up, but they don't make these anymore. I basically got one right before they stopped making them, but this is a really cool piece that I like. It definitely cleans that up back there. I have an English Tune heat shield. I actually ordered, they made a new one since I got this one for top mounts, where it comes around in the front. It was supposed to get delivered today, but it didn't, so that's going to be going on as well. I really like the English Tune stuff. I have this dipstick like thing that holds it down. I had a friend who blew up an SR because his dipstick popped out. Radiator is Koyorad, and then I have these Spal extreme fans. These are huge, very strong, keeps the car nice and cool so far at least. Look at that. I'm so stoked on how this turned out. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the engine setup. We can talk about how much it made. So my goal was to make 500 wheel. It made 517 wheel on 24 PSI. We didn't stop because it ran out of turbo. It could probably make 550. Like we could probably turn it up to like 28 PSI at least, and that's another 4 PSI. But 500 is so fast in S chassis, as you'll see. It made 410 wheel horsepower on 14 PSI, which was my wastegate. Since then, I have put a 12-pound spring in it, trying to bring it down more to like 380-ish, as low as I can honestly go, mainly just for tire wear. It revs to 7,500 RPM because I have that crank. I feel a lot better about it. We'll get more into that when we talk about what I did to the diff. As far as exterior changes go, you can see I took the livery off. I got the same hood I had before, which is M Sports, but I got it in a carbon. You can't really see because of the lighting right now, but it does have like a fade, a black fade around the edges. Like I said, you can't really see it with it not in direct light right now. The last video I did was on these 350Z conversion rotors with the Z32 caliper. They've been working good so far. These are not real Ganadors. Real carbon Ganadors are not made of real carbon fiber. They're made of transfer carbon, which is basically a hydro dip. So I would rather have $1,000 fake Ganadors that are made of real carbon fiber than to have, and that matches all the other carbon fiber that I have on my car, rather than to have, you know, real carbon Ganadors that don't match at all. So I'll own that. I don't really give a shit. If I wanted carbon Ganadors, I would buy carbon Ganadors. We got this carbon Origin Lab roof wing, which when the car was out in the sun, the gel coat like shrunk, so it's kind of wavy and shitty looking. There is a gap I gotta fix. Not great, but yeah, I'm gonna sand it smooth, get it cleared, get it looking better. This is not a D-Max trunk spoiler. This is Origin Lab. It's a little bit longer off the back. A guy with an E85 twin turbo G just said, "What's up?" The city hasn't really seen this car yet. It's been away in my garage. Don't roast me about my fitment. Honestly, it's meaty. I'm still getting it dialed in. Gotta drift it. Gotta figure out what I want, how I want the suspension to feel. Right now, this is about as low as I can really go to where I'm not rubbing on the bolts for the roll cage, which I honestly might be able to see. I don't know. But it looks really good with gram lights. I love it on the gram lights. I honestly just put the KFs back on because I figured you guys would like to see it more with the KFs. Now, before I had some positive camber in the rear, but I zeroed it out. Actually, it's not even zeroed. It's got some positive camber. So when the suspension is squatted, we have zero toe, better tire wear, better cost per lap and all that. I'll have to get that dialed in though when I actually start drifting it, and we can tell by the tire wear where the alignment needs to be. But yeah, so I actually had to put smaller lips on it. It had 5.5s. These are 5s. The front are 4.5. People ask me my wheel spec. I actually rebuilt them to be the exact same spec as my gram lights, basically as close as I could get, so that it would just make it a lot easier when I'm swapping wheels and whatnot. And you know, I got to run as big of a lip as possible. I don't want to have a small lip and a bunch of spacers. But part of me wanting to rebuild the wheels was to get that camber out. And it actually didn't even fit under the over fender. So I had to bow my over fenders out. If you remember, I don't know if I showed, but it used to be level with the tank. These are 50mm Origin Lab over fenders, but they're bowed out an extra like 15 mil, so they're like 65 now. When I bowed them out, it also brought the arch up, so looks a lot better with the front because the front is a little high. And how I bowed them was I just unbolted the bottoms and then I scooted them in, and then it bows it out. So if you want to do that. And then what I did was, so these are actually old tires. I run 245 40 18s. These are 235s. So these are a little, we're missing a little bit of tire compared to what I normally would have, but I just put something in there to give me as much of a gap as I felt comfortable. And then I just, you know, adjusted the holes, bolted them down with that in there so that it wouldn't rub. Completely overhauled the rear end. As you can see, I have reinforcements welded in now. I actually used to have stock lower control arms, and then I had PBM drop knuckles. Now I have full PBM. I have the PBM sway bar. I have the PBM dynamic toe set up. Normally with the normal knuckle, when the car squats, the car toes out, and when the suspension unloads, it toes in. And that's really why you want to run some toe in on your drift car normally, because when it squats, it comes out. So, you know, it's towed in when the car is sitting normal, but then when it starts to squat, when you're on power, then it toes out. You tow it in, so then it's more so at zero. These are dynamic toe, so I can make it toe in when it squats. There's a lot of stuff I can do. Right now, I just have it zeroed out, so there's no toe. When the wheel goes up and down, there's no toe gain, no nothing. And that's just kind of how I have it set up for now. I want the car to be loose at first, and then we can, you know, start to add that stuff in later. No point in jumping the gun, making the car drive like shit, making it harder to drive, making myself drive worse. For what reason? So there's no toe in it right now. Toe is zeroed out. I got BCDS coilovers. Absolutely love them. And then here is my $4,000 LSD diff that I just had built. It is a Nismo LSD Pro two-way with a 4.3 ring and pinion. And then I have TF Worx stubs because I did the 350Z axle conversion. I don't really post anything Assetto related on my YouTube, but if you follow me on Instagram, I'm definitely a very avid sim drifter. I'm very OCD about car setup. I really enjoy getting cars to drive good, getting them to drive a certain way, just playing with setup, seeing what does what. And one of the biggest things that I found was the shorter your final drive, the snappier the car is, like on a feint, on a transition. And that's really the kind of driving that I like and that I want to do. I spent a lot of time on the sim, on US Air, trying to figure out what I want my gearing to be. One thing to note is, you know, if you put a shorter final drive in your car, but you raise the rev limiter, you still get to keep those driving characteristics of having the shorter rear gear and having that snappier car. what I decided to go with was everybody, or at least most of the good drivers, but pretty much everyone just runs normal 411, 408, whatever it is, with a 7200 RPM rev limiter. And, you know, if I go and change my gearing too much from what everyone else has, it may actually hurt me. So I think it's better to just kind of go with what they have. However, if I can put the shortest final drive I can in the car, but then also bring the rev limiter up so that my wheel speed for all my gears matches what everyone else's is with the 411 and the 7200 RPM limiter. If I wanted to run a 4.6, which would kind of be ideal, I would have to rev the car up to 8 grand, and I don't really feel comfortable doing that. It's a lot more heat, it's a lot more wear. The higher you rev your engine, the more life you take off of it, and the sooner it will need a rebuild. So the next best thing would be to raise the rev limiter 300 RPM to 7500 and run a 4.3 rear gear. And I calculated all of this stuff with the Tremec wheel speed calculator that they have on their website. So, you know, I get those benefits of having the shorter final drive, but I get to keep the same wheel speed that everyone else is running. One other benefit to that is it's kind of like going from if you ride BMX, you can kind of think of it like having a 28 tooth sprocket with a 9 tooth driver and then going down to a 25 tooth. It takes less effort, it's less load to get going. So where other people, they might be like, if we're in like kind of a tight corner, their car is kind of loaded up, my car is going to be less loaded up. On top of that, I also have so much more torque with this KA. It's like JZ RB25 power band in a 4-cylinder. It's crazy. So I'm really looking forward to trying that out. My transmission, as you guys saw, is Z32 300ZX non-turbo with a twin disc. But because I only have a 5-speed, if I run a 4.6 going on the highway, because I don't have a trailer, I have to street drive my car an hour and a half up to US Air, hour and a half down to GLD. 4.6 would kind of be too much for me. If you have a CD, you could do a lot of different stuff. If it was a 6-speed, you know, you could make something work, but since it's a 5-speed, I didn't really feel comfortable going there. But honestly, with the 4.3, it's not even that bad on the highway. I swapped out my Sparkle harnesses for these Sawbelt Nismo harnesses. They are super cool. Very happy with those. I really like this Sparkle wheel. This is what I've had on my sim. Got a carbon fiber Nismo horn button. We got the mid logo kill switch. My hydro setup is this. Got my wallet and my hand sanitizer down there. It works like a normal handbrake. Can't really see it much. Doesn't have a lot of throw, which is kind of how I prefer it. This is the Tomei shift knob that came with the car that I just really like, and I like keeping this because it kind of one of the only things left that I didn't change that still kind of makes it feel like the same car from before. The other thing is my radio as well. I don't remember who makes these gauge holders. It might be Breakbeat. Breakbeat definitely made this, and I like that one. Breakbeat also makes this cup holder. This is a phone holder. I really like this a lot. This is definitely the best one in my opinion. You can't even really tell it's 3D printed, just like you can't even tell that this shifter surround is 3D printed. This was made by G2 Carbon. 3D printing is getting pretty crazy now. So Breakbeat, they make this wheel holder like that. Had to zip tie it though to this, otherwise it was like vibrating on the windshield, but it is a nice piece. I just did that little zip tie job. We put roll cage foam on because it kind of reminds me of when I was a kid. I was really into monster trucks. Monster trucks had a lot of this type of foam, you know, the colored foam, really kind of 90s, 80s feel. Drift cars in Japan used to have this as well, so that's one cool piece. If you didn't see, I got a sub behind my seat, got a fire extinguisher back there, got another fire extinguisher down there. One thing that I did want to do though is I want to put a red carpet in this. I just ran out of time, and honestly I got a little lazy because to pull the carpet out you got to pull the dash out, which means I got to pull the cage out. I want to do a carbon fiber sunroof delete. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, mainly just because when I took the sunroof out, to do the cage. It just, when it opens, or more so when it closes, it just pulls the seal off all the time. I'm a big sunroof guy. I would love to have the sunroof open. I think that looks sick, but it leaks and I got to get rid of it. My stickers are done by Lazy Rocket. Love him. He always gets me right, gets me exactly what I want. I am gonna put a black M Sports on the hood. So that's kind of about it. I guess we can talk about like what my future plans are. Like I said, I want to do the red carpet. I want to put an S15 back seat in. The S15 rear seat's like the 14, but it's just made of a material that will match a lot better with what I have in here. It'll just be more like black, whereas the S14 seats have designs. I do really like this rear seat delete, but I kind of want to make it feel a little more street car and a little less like a car that I have completely fucked with, and you know, give me less paranoia. I'm gonna get one of the spare tire well subs, and honestly I can't really think of anything else. I did swap the springs out, so we have just normal 8K front, 6K rear. You know, my exhaust setup is Kakimoto. Love this exhaust. Can't really think of anything else, man. I am so happy with this thing. It's sick, it sounds sick. It's done. Now we just got to go drift it. Might go to GLD this weekend. We'll see. Car has kind of been, it's a new build, so there's a lot of little things that I just got to fine tune, refine, dial in. Like, I don't really want to rip on it right now because my map sensor was tweaking out on the dyno and reading 100 and, you know, just kind of whacking out. I did order one, and it was supposed to come yesterday or today, but UPS kind of fucked me, so now it's coming tomorrow. So I don't really want to rip on it, even though it probably is fine. It's kind of just like a peace of mind thing. Before I end off the video, I'll give you some sound clips. Keys in my pocket. Clutch needs some adjusting, so I'm not really going to drive it today. I got a few things I want to do tonight. So you'll have to wait for driving clips for the next video. I would like to start, you know, making videos again, start, you know, making content with this, having fun with it, finally enjoying it after an 8-year build. Just gotta try not to break it. I just don't want to break it again. Give me the rest of the year, please. Like and subscribe.